Hi, I'm Dr. Mindy Curry. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I do house calls in the greater Portland area, and I have a home office here in Milwaukee. And today I'm here to talk to you about the Linden Blossom and the leaf and its medicinal benefits. These are just out in bloom right now, and this is the time to step out there and really smell the nature, because these smell wonderful. It's this lovely citrusy honey aroma that just fills the air all around these trees. And also the bees fill the air all around these trees. It's a wonderful herb, and it's got a variety of lovely benefits. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go out and walk along a row of these beautiful trees, and I'm going to talk a bit more about their constituents and their properties. And then we're going to come back into my kitchen here and process this big pile of linden into a tincture using vodka. And so I'll see you outside. Let's go. Okay, and here we are out at the trail. This is a lovely little trail that goes underneath just a beautiful row of linden trees, and they're all in flower. We're going to see just all the bees and all the wonder of these linden flowers. Here they are. Now we're going to go for a little walk, and while we walk, I'm going to talk a bit about this species, its medicinal use, and even a few studies that I found. So it'll make it a little different from last year. So basically, we're talking about the Tilia species of trees. And these are several different trees in the Tilia family. They all have pretty similar use, and they're somewhat similar in look. Now, what we're going for in the linden flower and leaf is the medicinal constituents. And these are volatile oils and quercetin and the glycosides of the quercetin, camphorol, glycosides, there's mucilage, there's flavonoids. Basically, all these things give us the medicinal properties, which are as a nervine, which is also diaphoretic, diuretic, antispasmodic, anticonvulsant. It's even a bit antidepressant and mildly astringent and calmative to the digestive tract, stomach. For medicinal uses, it's often used to protect against hypertension, especially if it's with arteriosclerosis and or palpitations. It can also has been used to shorten the duration of viruses such as colds and flus. It's used to relax nervous tension, and is really helpful when you're just really stressed out and you need to chill out a bit. It's used as part of migraine formulas due to its relaxing abilities, and it's also because it does reduce the hypertension that's often the problem in some migraines. Let's go on and talk about 4 research studies that I found. When I go around each year and harvest again for that year, it's always a good time to go and check the research and see if there's anything new that's popped up, anything interesting. There wasn't a lot of research out there as far as I could tell so far, but we do have a few. We've got 4 studies I'd like to talk about. Now, one of them is a 2007 research study by Eva Aguirre Hernandez et al. In the Journal of Ethnopharmacology. And in this study, using mice, they found a significant and dose-dependent lessening of anxiety behaviors in a maze and cylinder tests, with reduced ambulation and increased head tipping. So they concluded that in this case, the Tilia Americana Mexicana they had used has similar effects to a more well-known European Tilia, where it's used as an anxiolytic and a bit of a sedative. And there's another study, a 2014 research by Nomi Carolinas Rodriguez et al. In the Journal of Oxidative Medicine and Cellular Longevity. And this in vitro study uses spectrophotomeric technique and HPLC analysis of the Tilia leaves and flowers, and they were able to identify also flavonoids. They were able to identify the flavonoids in here, including quercetin, rutin, isoquercetin, and these are known to have significant antioxidant properties. So the authors are suggesting that these compounds are probably the mechanism for the anticonvulsant actions of the Tilia medicines in its traditional use in diseases involving the central nervous system. That's just kind of like, here's the compounds that are probably doing what we've been seeing in traditional medicine all this time. So we go on to a 2009 study in neuropharmacology by Ana Laura Martinez et al. And in this study, they compared Tilia and quercetin extracts versus tramadol in a pain-induced functional impairment model in rats. So evidently, this rat torture demonstrated a significant and dose-dependent pain reduction that was resembling serotonin 5-HT1A receptor partial agonists, such as buspirone. They do suggest in their study that this supports the traditional analgesic use by folk medicine using Tilia americana mexicana. So once again, they're finding evidence that it does work the way everybody says it does. Let's go on to a 2008 study, the last study I got for you today, and that's a study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology by Maribel Herrera Ruiz et al. And in this study, they put mice in mazes after giving them extracts of Tilia, and evidently the mice that were given the Tilia showed less anxiety responses during the maze, and but they didn't have altered motor activity in this study. So in this study, they were not sedated. They did also identify tilaroside, quercetin, camphorol, and their glycosides as the main components in the active flavonoid-rich test fractions that got the best results. So they claim that these results support traditional Mexican medicine use of Tilia americana to relieve sleeplessness, so for better sleep, for headaches, and also for just excess nervous excitement. So once again, all these studies seem to be confirming through science that the traditional uses are indeed valid uses. So that's a wonderful thing to know. And let's look at these trees again. Aren't they beautiful? Look at those bees. So many bees in these trees. And kind of look at the bark of the trees. It's a little bit silvery. You'll probably want to get an idea of where these are even before the leaves and flowers come on, so you can watch it for when it's ready to go, and you can pluck those Tilia blossoms at their peak. Not miss it, because there is a fairly small window in which these guys are really going. And then it's over, and they're off to the seeds. And that's life. Beautiful trees. Look at these beautiful trees. Yeah, we'll just look at these a little bit longer. And we're back. We're back in my kitchen, and we're going to take some of these branches and process them into a tincture. Now you're just going to want to cut off the branches. You're going to want to keep the leaves, the flowers, the little bracts. Just basically cut off the big chunks. Doesn't matter if you have some of the little stems in there. That's just fine. Since these are a very delicate little flower, we don't want to be blasting them with a lot of water, knocking off all their flowery goodness. And they're going to be going into alcohol anyhow, so we're not going to do a lot of washing of these. They're in an area that's away from cars and pollutants, obvious pollutants. So basically, we're just going to chop these up and put them in an alcohol and that'll preserve them nicely and disinfect anything that gets on there. But you're going to be wanting to look and make sure you're getting out any spiders or any kind of places where the birds may have left some surprises for you, any kind of weird insects that are crawling around on these things. Kind of just watch out for them, and also if there's any kind of area that's where the leaves look deformed or moldy or whatever, just cut that off, trim that off. So basically we're just going for the nice, healthy looking leaves, flowers, and those little finger things next to the flowers. Yeah. Let's just keep going at that for a while. Maybe if I could speed up a little bit. Okay, we've got our leaves and flowers all processed. Now it's time to put them in the blender and chop them up with the 80 proof vodka we're going to use to extract the medicinal components. Since this is kind of, it would be especially tedious just to sit there and cut these for a long time, especially the amount that I've collected this time. So a really great way to just chop them up and get all the inner cellular bits connected to the extraction liquid is to put them in a blender and just chop it all up. We're not trying to get a puree at all. We're trying to just coarsely chop these. And yeah, let's see how that's going to work. We can probably speed this process up a bit too. You will find that you'll have to stop the blender and keep jabbing the top leaves down, and then it'll mix more better. Here it goes. The excitement of pouring a bunch of 80 proof vodka into a blender with some Tilia leaves and flowers. Not quite a margarita, but it's green. And let's give it a whir. And that's how you chop up your linden blossoms and leaves. I'm going to want to put that into a jar and give it a good label. So now that I've shown you how to make some wonderful medicine, I want to remind you that it's very important to go see a doctor or a naturopath or at least an herbalist before starting any herbals for your conditions. For one thing, you may not really understand what your diagnosis is. You may think it's just a little bit of this and that can be treated with some plants, when it's really something serious and you're missing it, and it could be fatal. Also, there are interactions between herbs and drugs, and there's also contraindications between some of the problems you may be having and the herbs you may think you need. So don't start taking anything willy-nilly unless you're sure what's going on. And to be sure, come see a naturopath like me. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I do house calls in the greater Portland area, and I also have an office in Milwaukee.